So in the previous lecture we have seen natural sampling or natural pan, but it has a disadvantage that the recovery, the signal recovery at the receiver end, that becomes difficult in case of natural pan. So we move on to we rather use flat top sampling, or you can say flat top pan. Instead of the natural pan, we go for flat top pan. Now, how do we generate flat top pan? So one simple way is that if suppose let's say we have a message signal, a sinusoidal message signal, and if you multiply it with train of pulses, if you multiply this analog signal with train of pulses, we get a natural pan, right? That we have seen in the previous lecture. Now what if we reduce the width of this train pulse to very infinitesimally small value? If this pulse width is reduced to an impulse kind of a thing, then you can say that the resultant would be a flat top. It won't be a natural one now. Okay, that is one method, because the width of the sampled signal will be very less. This is one method. It won't be a natural one. It will be counted as a flat top method. But the problem associated with this type of sampling or PAM signal is that since the width of each sample is very small, so the pulse energy will be very small. Pulse energy will be small, hence cannot be used for the communication purpose. So we cannot go for this type of flat top sampling. Rather, this is also known as instantaneous sampling. What we do is we make use of sample and hold circuit. We perform the instantaneous sampling first. We get impulse samples, right, of very small pulse width, and then we hold on to this pulse for a particular time duration, resulting into a flat top kind of a samples. First we perform instantaneous sampling, and then we hold on to that instantaneous value for a particular time period, and that will lead to a pulse width, a pulse of a significant width such that it can be used for communication purpose. Okay, and also giving us the flat top sampling. So a sample and hold circuit will be used for this, which will be of this form. We're going to use a transistor switch here, and we use a delay, again one more transistor switch, and a capacitor to hold on to the charge. This is your empty signal. So if you look at this sample and hold circuit, what happens is a periodic pulse train PT, it operates this switch, transistor switch Q1. Okay, it closes this switch and allows instantaneous samples of this analog signal. So instantaneous sampling takes place at this point, right? This pulse train PT, it closes this switch, operates this switch Q1, and provides the instantaneous samples of this analog signal MT, and those instantaneous samples are passed on to this capacitor for time duration T, which will hold on to the charge, and then it will be discharged through this switch Q2, thus resulting into sample and hold phenomena. So first we sample it instantaneously, and then we hold on to that charge for a particular time duration T, and this kind of a circuit, which is a sample and hold circuit, is useful in this for generation of such kind of sampled signal. Okay, next we'll discuss about pulse amplitude modulation and its correlation with time division multiplexing. PAM and time division multiplexing. We have already seen frequency division multiplexing wherein different subcarriers were used to transmit different message information over the same channel. Alright. So next type of multiplexing is time division multiplexing, and it has high correlation with pulse amplitude modulation type of signals. Let us see how. Let me first draw a typical time division multiplexer. We have a commutator at the transmitting end, and a decommutator at the receiving end. And one D, two D, and three D. So these are the 6 different message signals that are to be transmitted simultaneously over the same channel. This is your communication channel. And at the receiver end again we have decommutators. We'll go on to the further signal processing blocks. Filter 1, filter 2, F3 and so on. This is the commutator arm and this is the decommutator. This is the commutator and this is decommutator. Okay, so this is a typical time division multiplexer. The advantage of, you can say, the sampling process principle is that we can time multiplex various band limited signal on the same channel. We are using the same communication channel and we are multiplexing various band limited signals over the same channel. So at the transmitting end, you can see there are a number of band limiting signals that are connected to a contact point of this rotary switch. This is a kind of a rotary switch which can be connected to any of these junctions. Okay. So at this transmitting end, a number of signals are connected to this contact point through the rotary switch. Okay. As this rotary arm, it rotates, of the switch, it moves around. It samples each signal sequentially. Okay, so this rotary arm, when it rotates in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, it samples each signal M1T, M2T, M3T. Let us suppose it rotates anti-clockwise. Okay, that means what it is doing is it is sampling M1T, M2T, M3T, M4T, M5T and M6T sequentially. It takes one sample of each band limited signal at a given time slot. Alright, and a reverse process takes place at the decommutator end, wherein again this rotary switch, this is both the transmitting and the receiver rotary switch, they are synchronized. Okay, so the switches make contact simultaneously at similar numbered contact. So let's say this is M1T, so this is your first receiving branch for M1T. This is the second receiving branch for M2T. So at a time, this rotary switch will be at the same corresponding point. So if it is at point 1 at the transmitting end, it will be at point 1 at the receiving end as well. And this further signal processing blocks are for this particular M1T signal only, to reconstruct back this signal. So clearly you can see that the sampling process involved here is pulse amplitude modulation. So at each time instant, a particular sample of a particular signal is being transmitted, and that particular sample is nothing but the instantaneous amplitude of the particular message signal. That means we are using pulse amplitude modulation over here. Okay, if we draw the waveform for it, let's say if this is M1T and let's say this is here M2T. So there's a particular time difference between these two signals, and this is TS, which is the sampling time period. Okay, so this figure shows that two signals M1T and M2T sampled at a regular time interval of TS. M1T is sampled first. First we sample M1T, okay, followed by M2T, right? But each is sampled at a regular interval of TS, and it can be clearly observed that the train of pulses corresponding to the samples of each signal is modulated in amplitude here. So by sampling means we are taking the instantaneous value of that message signal. So each pulse of the pulse train is modulated in amplitude in accordance to the message signals. Okay, so this is nothing but PAM. Okay, and since each sample is allotted a time slot, each sample is allotted a different time slot, the system is a clear example of TDM, which uses PAM signaling. So this is the concept of time division multiplexing, wherein we sample different band limited signal at different time slots and transmit it over a same communication channel. So at a time, this communication channel caters to one sample only, one sample of a particular signal. Okay, next we'll have a look at the other pulse analog modulation techniques, which are pulse width modulation and pulse position modulation. There are three different pulse analog modulation schemes. Pulse amplitude modulation we have already done. So next two are pulse width modulation and pulse position modulation. So one of the technique, that is pulse width modulation. In this type of modulation technique, the message signal, the analog message signal, it modulates the width of the pulse. The width of the pulse is varied in accordance to the message signal. It is also known as pulse duration modulation. Okay, and the other one is pulse position modulation, PPM. In this type of modulation, the position of the arrival, you can say the position of the arrival of the fixed width pulse. The width of the pulse is fixed, amplitude is fixed, but its position in each sample period is modulated by the message signal. So the position of each pulse, or each fixed width pulse rather, is varied in accordance to message signal. Alright. So clearly in pulse width modulation there is randomness in the width of the pulse in accordance to the message signal, and in pulse position modulation there is randomness in the position of the pulse. So clearly these two schemes are not suitable for time division multiplexing. So only PAM signaling can be used for time division multiplexing. As a consequence, their contribution to the contribution of PWM and PPM, their contribution to communication is quite limited. PWM pulse width modulation has a very interesting application. It finds an application in controlling the speed of a DC motor. Okay, in delivery of power, which is precisely regulated by the width of the pulse. Pulse width refers to the energy or the power. Okay, so it can be very efficiently used to regulate the to precisely regulate the power. Okay, and together PWM and PPM, they are known as pulse time modulation, PTM. Pulse time modulation. And the modulation and the demodulation of these two, pulse width and pulse position modulation schemes, are very closely connected. That we'll see how. Okay. If you look at the generation process of the two, the PWM is generated simply with the help of a comparator. If we design a comparator, we can easily, and one of the input on the positive terminal is the input signal, and on the negative terminal it is a sawtooth waveform. Okay, and the resultant output would be a PWM output. Okay, and on the other hand, if we go for PPM generation, PPM waveform is generated followed by the PWM. First we need to generate a PWM waveform, and using that PWM waveform we can easily generate a PPM output using three different blocks. The first of which is a inverter. If we give input as PWM, second block is a differentiator, and third block is a positive edge triggered pulse generator. Positive edge triggered pulse generator, and the resultant will be a PPM. So for PPM generation, first we need to generate PWM, that is passed sequentially through these three blocks to generate PPM. Let us see how these what are the working of these two block diagrams through some plots. So let us now understand the generation of pulse width modulation and pulse position modulation with the help of this waveforms. So as we know that for pulse width modulation generation, we pass the input signal and the sawtooth waveform through a comparator. Okay, we give input on the positive terminal, we give input signal, and on negative terminal we give sawtooth waveform to generate PWM. Right. That means if this input signal is more as compared to sawtooth waveform, then the output of this comparator would be plus voltage level, plus V, and if the sawtooth waveform is more as compared to input, then the output of comparator will be minus V, negative voltage level, right? So now if we analyze this waveform diagram, you can see that in this region, the sawtooth waveform has more value clearly as compared to the input signal. Therefore, if sawtooth is more as compared to input, the resultant will be minus V. So you can see minus V in the output, right? And further, if you see, this sawtooth waveform has negative polarity, right? The sawtooth waveform has negative polarity, and this message signal has positive polarity. Clearly message signal is more as compared to the sawtooth waveform. If the message signal is more as compared to sawtooth, the output will be plus V. So it is plus V in this region. The output is plus V in this region, right? Now beyond this point, the sawtooth waveform is positive and more than the message signal. So in this region, the sawtooth waveform is dominating. So the output will be minus V, right? Then again, sawtooth waveform is negative and positive but less than this message signal in this region, right? So it will be again positive and then further negative and so on. So in this manner, the width of the pulse, you can see there is the width of the pulse is varying in accordance to the message signal. So with the with the help of comparator, we can generate a PWM type of a signal. And the significance of PWM signal is the pulse width is varying, so pulse energy or the power is being varied. So in order to, so for the applications where we need to utilize the precise value of power, we need to regulate the power level very precisely. There we can make use of pulse width modulation. Okay. Now next step is to generate PPM with the help of this pulse width modulation. The steps involved were first we pass this PWM through a inverter, then we pass it through a differentiator, then we further pass it through a positive edge triggered pulse generator to get back your PPM. Okay, so first we pass this pulse width modulator through a inverter and a differentiator. Okay, and this will be the resultant for inverted and differentiated output. Obviously we are differentiating a unit step function, so the resultant output would be a impulse. So you are getting impulses at the output, right? You are differentiating a unit step function, so resultant will be a impulse. Now since we are inverting it, so when the power the voltage level of PWM goes from high to low, since it is inverted in nature, so we get a positive impulse. And on the contrary, when the voltage level goes from low to high, we get a negative impulse. So accordingly we get a inverted impulse output, and this inverted and differentiated output, that is impulses in the form, is passed through positive edge triggered pulse generator. So the purpose of this pulse generator is that it generates a fixed width pulse whenever it encounters a positive edge. So whenever there is a positive edge, this is a positive edge, this is another positive edge, this is positive, 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 positive. So whenever it encounters a positive edge, it will generate a pulse of fixed width or duration. So whenever this is the first positive edge, so we get a pulse of fixed duration. This is the second positive edge, again we get a pulse of fixed duration. This is the third positive edge, again we are getting a pulse of fixed duration, right? So this is pulse position modulation. You can clearly see the position of pulses is varying in accordance to the message signal here now. Okay, the pulse width is fixed, pulse amplitude is fixed, only change is in the position of the pulse, right? So this is your pulse position modulated waveform, and that is generated with the help of pulse width modulation by passing it through an inverter, differentiator and a positive edge triggered pulse generator kind of a circuit. Alright. So this was the generation methods for PWM and PPM. Next we'll have a look at the demodulation of the both, how a demodulation for PPM and PWM takes place.